Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Chasing Labels. This is spine number 148. I have to double check here to take a look at what we have going on here. I'm a little razzled this week. A little razzled. I'll tell you the 2 week time frame in between the previous episode and this episode goes by pretty quickly, faster than you may think. At least for me. Other people time moves in different ways. Everyone's life is different, but for me, I feel like I was just here the other day. If anything, I'm still recovering from episode in spine number 147, which was a 3.5 hour extravaganza, one would say. Episode 147 was certainly one for the ages. It was one that was, um, yeah, epic to say the least. By the end of it, I needed several days to recover, and in many ways, still have not recovered. That's what happens when it comes to the end of the month here on Chasing Labels. All of the companies and the boutique labels that we cover like to push out everything that they have to get out at the end of the month, and things just came from everywhere. But this episode, spy number 148, is going to be much different. There was much less when it came to announcements from the boutique label world over the last 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of September of 2024. For those of you listening in the future, if some of you are listening in the past, that would be incredible. That would be incredible. That means we've discovered time traveling, and that would be awesome. But here on Chasing Labels, I am your host. For those of you who are joining us here for the first time, this is the podcast slash YouTube channel where we go over many of the announcements in the boutique label world of home media or home video. I guess that's what we would call it still. And I pick out some things that I probably want to add to my collection, things I find interesting, all that kind of stuff. If it pertains to you, that's awesome. If it doesn't, perhaps it'll be something you will be eventually interested in. And if not, thanks for joining us here for the ride. We have some comments here early on. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode. Nothing really new here happening on Chasing Labels in the last 2 weeks or so. I know Stephen and I will be rejoining forces to go over some imprint releases that we recently got for our collections. I will be going over. Actually, I could probably show a little preview of it here. I got the Harvey Keitel box set, the one from Imprint, their Film Focus box set. 6 movies in this set, by the way. Very nice, very nice. I got that, and I got another 3 releases from them. I got Banning, Crossplot, and Jessica. So Stephen and I will be joining forces this week to give you kind of a more in-depth look into all of those releases. So stay tuned for that here on the channel. And also give me one moment here. I forgot to do one technical thing. So if my camera blinks out for a second, don't freak out. I forgot to open up another software thing when it came to the camera settings. So I wanted to make sure to get that up. Like I said, a little frazzled this week. Let me checking some things. Turning that off, and then we're back. We're good. I'm still here. I don't think I've gone anywhere. So, and also one thing I added to my collection personally. I know I think the 50% off sale is still happening at Barnes & Noble as of now. I think it's happening towards for the rest of this month, at least I think till the 29th. I think I mentioned that before. And I went back and nice. But I'm actually going to talk about that. I went back and got the Mexico trilogy from the Arrow sale. I ended up paying like under 50% off from this because Barnes & Noble has their rewards program. And since I had bought so much stuff during the Criterion sale back in July, I guess I got up a bunch of points to get some money off. Basically, the way that rewards program runs now is that there's a free tier, then there's a paid premium one now when it comes to Barnes & Noble rewards. It used to just be all paid, and then now it's free and then a paid tier. I, of course, have the free tier when it comes to their rewards program, and you just gather points. The more you spend, the more you end up saving, I guess. Whatever. Anywho, I got this for 50% off. I talked about it when it was announced, and it's the Mexico trilogy by Robert Rodriguez. I guess I'll do a quick thing here. We don't have a lot to talk about, so I can add a little extra stuff. So we've got El Mariachi on Blu-ray. We've got Once Upon a Time in Mexico on Blu-ray, and then Desperado is in both 4K and Blu-ray. I'm assuming that was a rights thing or something like that. I believe Sony has the rights to all of those movies, so perhaps it was a thing with them. But yeah, it has a slip cover over the box, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so there's that. But I do want to mention this right here. Jeff says that order the Buñuel set today. I'm assuming you're talking about the one from Radiance, which I will be talking about most definitely. That actually reminds me, I got to get a couple of Buñuel films off the shelf. Humboldt Horror Honey, who's always here, nice to see you, also talks about the Buñuel set. Buñuel set looks fantastic. It does. That cover art on that set looks amazing. We'll get to that. So let's dive into it, shall we? Yeah, we're about 7 or so minutes into this. Let's see what we got here on my notes. Let's start off with this. Studio Canal. Once again, our buddies over at Studio Canal, at least I hope they're my friends, because they're putting out such great stuff. On November 4th, they are putting out a 75th anniversary 4K Blu-ray edition of The Third Man. Carol Reed's The Third Man. This is an exciting release. Many consider this an all-time great film, and I do not disagree. It's certainly my favorite Carol Reed film, and it's certainly one of the best film noirs of all time. Yeah, it's written by Graham Greene, like I said, directed by Carol Reed, and this 75th anniversary edition is a nice deluxe set. I'm not sure if it's a new 4K restoration or not. All I know is that it's coming from a 4K restoration. Whether it's brand new, I haven't been able to find out that information. I've looked at various articles. None of them really specify if it's brand new, but it's probably going to look better than it's ever looked before. I know they've been touring around this 4K restoration in the movie theaters for years, or at least for the last little while, and it's looked fantastic from what I've heard. Our buddy Johnny Pomato, who's a friend here of the channel, who's been on a few times, he's seen it in the theater, and he says it looks fantastic. And it's got to look better than the old Blu-rays that have been around for a while, certainly better than the DVDs. I have an old Lionsgate release. Let me get some stuff off the shelf. See, like I said, I'm a little bit behind. Let me grab some stuff off the shelf. For those of you listening in the podcast, give me a few seconds here. Thank you. I had to pull off some stuff off the shelf. I usually do that before the show, but I didn't have time. So here's the edition of The Third Man that I have. This is the Lionsgate Blu-ray release from many moons ago. Let me actually get a date on that when this came out. Yeah, this came out in 2010. This came out in 2010, and basically what has happened is, when it comes to Studio Canal's releases in the UK, Lionsgate has the rights to them here, at least the distribution rights. So you do get like the same discs, the same on-disc content. I'm assuming the same transfers for a lot of their stuff. They do it up to this day. For example, Highlander. Highlander had a Studio Canal release, and we got a US one put out by Lionsgate here. Um, and I've had this forever. I know many people are fortunate enough to have the Criterion Blu-ray, which I do not have. I tell you, it's one of my biggest regrets ever in collecting is not getting the Third Man Blu-ray when I had the chance. But as we've seen over the last little while, Studio Canal will announce something in 4K that they're releasing or Blu-ray that they're releasing, and then someone else will be releasing that same thing here. We just saw it with Seven Samurai. With Seven Samurai, literally the next week, Criterion announced that they're putting out their own version of it, and that could happen here if Criterion has had the rights to it before. If they reacquire it, that could be pretty cool. But let me get to some comments here. Will I be buying the Third Man set? Tempting as all hell. Tempting as all hell. I want it. It looks cool. If you notice that it pops open like a pop-up book or something like that, that's very, very cool. Those little gimmicks do kind of get me sometimes. I'm a sucker for those. But I'm gonna wait a little bit to see who's going to be releasing it here. I've got a feeling we're gonna get an announcement sometime soon. Um, Also, Jeff adds about who's getting that Prisoner series release. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, whoa, what is this monstrous release? We don't talk a lot about TV shows here, much to my chagrin. It's always something I've wanted to get into and maybe do a separate segment just on TV releases because I feel like TV releases are getting a little bit of a resurgence, as people have come to realize now that streaming is not 100% reliable when it comes to TV series anymore. They used to be, but not so much. So I think collecting TV shows on DVD, collecting TV shows on Blu-ray, collecting TV shows on 4K if it's available is getting a little bit of a resurgence. But yeah, Jeff, that I'm curious who's going to end up buying that in our collectors community, just because I want to see what it looks like, because it looks like massive. For those of you not familiar with what we're talking about here, I believe Viavision is putting out a massive, like collector's edition of the show The Prisoner. Let me see if I can find some information on it, because I knew nothing about it until it was announced, and it's kind of monstrous. Let me see. I'm scrolling. Let's see. Here we go. So 45 years ago in 1979, Prisoner made its debut and Australian television screens changed forever, airing for 8 years and an incredible 692 episodes. The series quickly became one of the most watched Australian shows ever at home and around the world, where it was known as Cell Block H. This is a 175 disc set featuring every episode of the series. I'm flabbergasted. I couldn't imagine what the price is going to be on this. 175 discs. Oh, I do know what the price is. Here we go. Never mind. So the price as of this little like ad here, I guess. So $516 in US currency, $769 in Australian currency. And then we've got what's that? 465. Is that yen? I can't really tell. And then I think it's 393 British pounds. So a massive set in cost and size. It's got audio commentaries, it's got featurettes, it's got all kinds of stuff, and it looks like a massive set. It will certainly be the biggest set I've ever seen. Goodness gracious, you're right. Let me see. Does it come with a copy of the script? Let me look. It says it might as well. Yeah, you can get this from Viavision directly. Limited edition with sound chip and booklet. Custom sound chip sounds off with the iconic cell door slamming every time the box set is open. So I guess every time you open the box set, it makes like a prison cell doors opening. Um, or closing rather, closing. Um, and it's got a 48-page booklet that includes dozens of full color photos of the cast. We're only pressing this limited edition collection set once, strictly to 1,000 copies only. The definitive must have for all fans of Prisoner. Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. But that's an aside. That's an aside here. Back to the Third Man. Let me see. Back to the Third Man. So the Third Man is a 4K restoration of the film pop-up music box. That's what it is. So it's a pop-up music box edition. Fully annotated shooting script. I think that's what you're referring to, Jeff. And then poster of the brand new artwork by Nico Delort and optional English for subtitles. It says and more, so there's perhaps stuff they haven't announced yet. Let me see. Yep, 4K Ultra HD. I want to make sure it was the actual 4K disc. Yep, I got you, Jeff. And you are right, Humboldt. What the heck? Yeah, I don't know who is going to be buying that set, but whoever does, good for you. 175 disc set. If you have the shelf space for that, man, I envy you. I envy you because I do not have the shelf space for this. You cannot see, but I've got stuff piled up around me here, and I need to do something about it because it's getting overwhelming. It's getting overwhelming. Hello, hello, Josie. Josie's here. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Welcome, welcome. We were just talking about the Third Man, which is truly one of the best movies. Um, yeah, for those of you who haven't seen the Third Man, I think it's required viewing if you're trying to be a big time movie fan or a cinephile or something like that. It's certainly something. The cinematography in this movie is unreal. Um, the movie kind of is the pioneer of the Dutch angles. You know, the tilted framing and things like that. It's really really something else. Where did I put that? Ah, here it is. Never mind. I was just looking for something. Let's see. What did Josie say? With No Country for Old Men getting a Criterion 4K release, I can't help but think of that line in Superbad. I'm sorry the Coen brothers didn't direct my porn. Yeah, considering they did come out the same year. What a line. What a line. Jeff, is Carol Reed underrated? I would say, I don't know. I wouldn't say underrated, overlooked. I feel like overlooked is a more appropriate term. Just because I think if you're a cinephile and you know you know Carol Reed, um, I have a Carol Reed section in my collection, but it's very small. I think I have like a Third Man and Odd Man Out. Let me see, Carol Reed. Of course, I spelled it wrong. Yeah. Let's see, what type of movies he directed? Like I said, The Third Man, Oliver, which I believe was a Best Picture winner, Odd Man Out, um, The Fallen Idol. Let's see, Our Man in Havana. He directed Mutiny on the Bounty, the one from '62. I think he was one of the I think he was actually fired when they were making that. He's got an uncredited credit for that because I think he was fired. He directed the movie Trapeze. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, Night Train to Munich. That has a Criterion release, but that's a cheaper Criterion release because I don't think there's any special features on it, unfortunately. Um, yeah, but I have always liked Carol Reed. I mean, he directed 35 films, but if you direct The Third Man, you're pretty much set. You know what I mean? Like you've directed one of the most notorious films of all time. Um, but let's see, let's move on from The Third Man. Let me go back to my notes. Um, let's go to Radiance. Why not? Let's go to Radiance now. You know, you guys were talking about little Buñuel earlier. Let's talk about some Buñuel now. For me, Buñuel is one of those gateway filmmakers for me. When it comes to surrealism, there was like David Lynch, Buñuel, and some other, surrealist filmmakers. And for me, um, there's Yeah, Buñuel is lack of a better term, kind of sacred. I have uh, 2 out of the 3 films in this box set. So Nothing is Sacred, Three Heresies by Louis Buñuel is a Blu-ray box set that's being put out by Radiance. And the box contains Verdiana, The Exterminating Angel, and Simon of the Desert. Um, I know Veridiana has never gotten a Blu-ray release before. Veridiana is put out by Criterion here in the Region A land. And I know that because I have the DVD. I bought this many, many years ago when I was first getting into Louis Buñuel. And this is an older DVD from Criterion. This must have come out probably in the mid 2000s. Let me actually check up on that. Let's see, Veridiana on DVD came out in 2006. Yes, this came out in 2006, a few years before they started putting out um Blu-rays. And yeah, this is just give you a little look see inside the Criterion DVD. We got the booklet here like they've been doing ever since DVDs, and got the disc here. Let me see what disc number this is. This is disc number 332. I don't know if you can see that with the whole focusing issue here, but trust me, it says 332 on it. And Viridiana is um, just just a fantastic movie, an astonishing movie. It really is. Um, yeah, it's really really great. I'll just read the back of this here. So for Verdiana, banned in Spain and denounced by the Vatican, already you won me over with that. Louis Buñuel's irreverent vision of life as a beggar's banquet is regarded by many as his masterpiece. In it, novice nun Veridiana does her utmost to maintain her Catholic principles, but her lecherous uncle and a motley assemblage of paupers force her to confront the limits of her idealism. Winner of the Palme d'Or at the 1961 Cannes Film Festival, Veridiana is as audacious today as ever. That's the thing with Buñuel's work, is it's really timeless, contemporary, even though it was made decades upon decades ago. Like for example, this film came out in 1961, and it is just as relevant then as it is now, because it's dealing with big general themes of human proportion, crisis of faith, and the satirizing religion and theology and the hypocrisy of it all, and all that stuff. That's a lot of what Buñuel's early work was digging into. Really taking shots at and really looking at big time institutions that would seem to be invincible by the masses. Christianity, Catholicism, something that would be relatively bulletproof to criticism, when in the fact it's not. You know what I mean? And so that's why his work was incredibly incredibly prophetic, thinking forward, and also controversial for its time. I mean, many will probably see it controversial in today's light as well, I guess, depending on how pious you are, how religious you are, and how serious you take all of that. But Veridiana is really, really fantastic. Next, we have Exterminating Angel. Exterminating Angel has been released by Criterion a couple of times. I've got the Blu-ray here. It's been released on DVD. I think there's a Louis Buñuel box set from Criterion that has this movie in it. Hold on, I'm on Criterion's website right now. Actually, let's see, Exterminating Angel, which is such a cool title in and of itself. Yeah, the Exterminating Angel. Let's just look up Louis Buñuel. Yeah, there's the Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie box set, and that contains. Let me see what it contains. Yeah, it contains the Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, the Phantom of Liberty. Oh, Obscure Objects of Desire. Okay, so Exterminating Angel is not in that box set. My bad, my fault. But the Exterminating Angel can be bought by itself on DVD and Blu-ray. Can also be found in this Radiance set, the Nothing is Sacred, Three Heresies by Louis Buñuel. And this is, I don't know if this is what it looks like for those of you interested. For those of you listening, obviously on the podcast, you can't tell, but I'm I'm holding open the Exterminating Angel Blu-ray from Criterion. This is spine number 459. Very thick booklet that the Criterion came with. That's really cool. But let me get into what the Exterminating Angel is about. So, Exterminating Angel is one of Buñuel's most extraordinary and enduring works. After a night at the opera, a group of bourgeois party guests realize that they are inexplicably unable to leave the dining room they are sequestered in and quickly descend into savagery. An influential blend of horror, comedy, drama, and social commentary, the film was named one of the 200 greatest all time in the 2022 Sight and Sound Critics poll. Um, Yes, because it is one of the 200 best films of all time. It's a movie that is, once again, satirizing a group of people that you would think are relatively bulletproof to criticism: the bourgeois, the upper class, the aristocracy of society, the rich people, as you will. Once again, something that is still relevant to this day, as we know of in society and the way the hierarchy works, at least here. The rich have certain they live a certain better lifestyle than everyone else. They have access to certain things that other people don't have access to. They have wealth and things beyond imagination, whatever the case may be. And Buñuel is taking it to them in the Exterminating Angel, saying that when they're basically, as the Joker said in the Dark Knight, when the chips are down, these people will eat each other. And that's, I think that's the quote. If not, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, when people are reduced down to their baser instincts, everyone's the same. We have certain innate animalistic survival instincts that when we are reduced down to that level, we all can succumb to them, regardless of where we are on the society chain. You know what I mean? Whether we're rich, whether we're poor, whether we're in the middle, wherever we are, we can get reduced down to that. But he does it, displays it in a satirical way, in a comedic way, dramatic way, all of those things. Extraordinary filmmaker. Louis Buñuel was, um, and in a very surreal way too. So now we can move on to the third film. The third film is Simon of the Desert. Now, this is a film I hadn't seen before this. I had known of it. Simon of the Desert, once again, Criterion has put this out, but only on DVD. At least I believe only on DVD. Yes, only on DVD, which is still in print, technically. So Simon of the Desert is a shorter film. It only runs about 48 minutes long. Let me see. Oh, 45 minutes long, sorry. Runs 45 minutes long. So Simon of the Desert is a typical outrageous and provocative commentary on organized religion, a parable of Simon, the would-be saint who lives an ascetic life at the top of a 10-foot pillar. The film features a memorable turn from Pinal as the devil and an unforgettable, bizarre ending. Yeah, it's 45 minutes, extremely concise. Once again, it's satirizing, it's poking fun at, it's critiquing organized religion, pious religion, and kind of the ridiculousness of it, really, and how it just doesn't fit within our society. I think that's what a lot of what this movie is kind of talking about, because you have this Simon of the Desert who is trying mightily to be this is super religious saintly type figure in a world in which that doesn't quite fit. At least that's what I got from the movie. And the movie has a third act turn that's fascinating. There's a woman actress who plays the devil in this, and she is really good. She was actually, I believe, the wife of the producer of the film, and there was a lovely interview with her on the Criterion channel, which I think is part of the DVD. Um, Yes. Let me look actually while I have that up. So, yeah, new interview with actress Sylvia Pinal. Sylvia Pinal is the actress in question, and she talks about the production of the movie. She talks about how the movie was conceived as being part of an anthology, where her husband and Buñuel wanted it to be like the first part of like a three-part anthology, and the other parts would be directed by someone else. So you would get like a different style for each film. And unfortunately, they were not able to get anyone else to kind of to kind of do it. I think it came down to the fact that they wanted Sylvia Pinal to be in each of the films, and every time they went to a director, they wanted to kind of do their own thing. They wanted to cast someone else other than her, and that just didn't work out. That just didn't work to what their vision would be. So that never happens. So what you get here is a 48-minute Louis Buñuel film. But let me go over some of the special features with this box set. We've got, once again, I think Radiance has gone above and beyond, well above and beyond. We've got newly filmed appreciation for each film by Buñuel, for Buñuel by filmmakers Richard Ayoade, Alex Cox, Guillermo del Toro, and Lulu Wong. The Life and Times of Don Louis Buñuel, a BBC Arena documentary on Buñuel featuring contributions from Buñuel and collaborators including Catherine Deneuve, presented on Blu-ray for the first time. That's from 1983. That's an hour and a half long. 98 minutes. That's incredible. A Mexican Buñuel, which is a 1995 50-minute special feature. That's a carryover from what's on the Simon of the Desert DVD from Criterion. So you get that. Buñuel, a surrealist filmmaker, a feature-length documentary directed by Javier Espada on Louis Buñuel's life and career. That's from 2021. That's 83 minutes long. Goodness gracious. An interview with Buñuel from 64. The Other Trinity, Alatriste, Buñuel, and Pinal, a visual essay on Buñuel in Mexico by Abraham Castillo Flores. Dinner and Other Rituals, a visual essay on Exterminating Angel by Alexandra Helen Nicholas, our friend here. And then we've got another friend here doing something. We've got an audio commentary on Viridiana by Michael Brook. Awesome. And then finally here, but definitely not least of all, there is an audio commentary on Simon of the Desert by Kat Ellinger. Another friend here from Chasing Labels. It's awesome to see all the people we know doing all this great work. It really is. I know it's a little silly, but I'm not saying that out of falsehood. That's really awesome. Once again, we got reversible sleeve art. You've got limited edition 80-page book. This is limited to 6,000 copies, so get yours while you can. These are coming out in December. Should have said that on the top. So yeah, Viridiana, Exterminating Angel, Simon of the Desert, Louis Buñuel, Nothing is Sacred, 3 Heresies by Buñuel. And I also want to make note of one more thing. Is I believe the artwork on the box is done by let me look on up for a second. I think it's done by Sister Hyde, who's also been here on Chasing Labels early on. Let me see. I think I saw them post about it. And I know Buñuel is a very important filmmaker for them. Yes. Okay. Oh yeah, here we go. Dream Achieved. This is directly from Sister Hyde's Twitter page. Dream Achieved was my greatest honor to be able to design artwork for my hero, inspiration, and favorite filmmaker Louis Buñuel, encompassing 3 of his greatest films and gorgeous newly restored releases from the art house champions film Radiance. And yes, that is my rosary. Wow, that's pretty incredible. That's very incredible. I want to make sure to add that to give them a little bit of plug. Now, Jeff, you're right. The Joker, Buñuel and the Joker, philosophers of our time. You're not entirely unwrong about that. I think there's a reason why the Joker keeps making returns within Batman lore. Well, not only for popularity and for money's sake, but just for other storytelling reasons. So that is the box set from Radiance. But Radiance was not done with their December releases. There's 2 more, and I got to watch both of these films. And the one here that I would definitely recommend to people is Yokohama BJ Blues. Yokohama BJ Blues is kind of great. So let me run down the synopsis here, and then we'll get into it. When his police detective best friend is killed, down at heel private eye and part-time blues singer BJ gets the blame. He must start his own investigation to clear his name, but what he uncovers is a tangled web involving crooked cops, drug dealing gangsters, the city's underground gay and biker scenes, and even his own past. A loose remake of Robert Altman's The Long Goodbye. Here we go. I knew this film felt like a neo noir. It feels like a neo noir. It's got the tone, it's got the energy of a neo noir, but a Robert Altman neo noir, a la The Long Goodbye. So The Long Goodbye that also draws from Visconti's Death in Venice. I haven't seen Death in Venice yet. I don't think I have Death in Venice. That has a Criterion release. It has that gorgeous, gorgeous cover, the one with the skull on it, which is incredible. But yes, I did want to make mention that this movie is very much in the vein of a neo noir. Um, let's see. This was Matsuda's break with his action hero image. Samurai movie veteran Aiichi Kudo relishes his chance at directing a neo-noir that captures urban Japan at the height of 1980s decadence. So we've got a Japanese 1980s neo-noir that's dealing with classic kind of noir things. We've got murder, mystery. We've got to clear. Yeah, you have to clear your name. You're being framed. It's got the wrong man scenario in there. Throw some Hitchcock in there as well, and you've got this energy of this kind of nighttime bluesy type of situation going on. And the soundtrack for this movie is incredible as well. Because, like I said, the main character of this film, BJ, he's like a private eye by day and a blues singer by night. Which wrap your head around that. Just wrap your head around that. Um, Makes for a really interestingly tonal film. Um, Definitely recommend it. Definitely recommend this movie. It's definitely something I'm going to get. I'm trying to get as many Radiance releases as I can, constantly behind because they're constantly announcing stuff. But yeah, this is definitely something I would recommend to people. This is a Region A and B release. I do want to go back and check up on the Buñuel box set, um, because it says region A, B, and C. That's interesting. That is interesting. I would have thought it would have been an entirely region B release, but I guess not. Um, so moving back to Yokohama VJ Blues, I'm gonna see what we have. Nothing. No, there's special features. Interview with star Marihemi, interview with screenwriter Suichi Maruyama, interview with writer and Yokohama expert Toru Sano on the film, and a look at the locations. So that's it. And then there's a limited edition booklet here as well. Um, cool. Yeah, Yokohama BJ Blues, definitely highly recommended. Let's see, moving on from there, we have The Man from Majorca. The Man from Majorca, this is a film from, when did this come out? 1984. 1984. So we've got following a slick post office robbery, two police officers see their investigation turn into one of high-level corruption and institutional intrigue. Bo Vitterberg follows his earlier investigative thriller, The Man on the Roof, with a focus on realism and procedural detail adapted from a novel by Leif Persson and starring Sven Wollter? Yes. Vitterberg's film channels the style of his early crime masterpiece, but presents a new world, gritty and often intense. The Man from Majorca is another classic of Nordic noir. Never heard of the term Nordic noir before. I have the Radiance release of the Man on the Roof. I believe that's another one of their releases. Hold on, let me check. Once again, I may be making things up. The Man on the Roof. And yes. Yeah, I have their release of The Man on the Roof. That came out in 2023. It's in one of these stacks here. I know it's in one of these. Let's see if I can find it really quickly. I probably can't. Yeah, I see it. It's buried. It's buried on in stacks here. Um, so I've got that release already. So it's nice that they're going back to other filmmakers and putting out more of their films that we have seen them put out before. That's kind of nice because we're getting like small tastes of kind of what Radiance does. Radiance puts out a lot, like we said, a lot of foreign language films, a lot of films from like Italy, Japan, Sweden, things like that. This is a Swedish film. The Man from Majorca is a Swedish film. So what you got here is kind of a police procedural that starts off very small with a post office heist. The movie starts off with a post office heist, and then it kind of grows from there. These two police officers who are investigating that, they find connections to something else, and it kind of grows and grows to the point where we're getting into like political corruption and bigger things like that. So you got to be a little patient with the movie, but it's like I said, it's a Nordic noir. You got some Japanese noir with Yokohama BJ Blues. You got Nordic noir with the Man from Majorca. You've got um, Louis Buñuel's doing his surreal takedown of religion and institutions and stuff like that. A nice eclectic group from Radiance here. Let me see. I have that up the whole time. Let's see. So Jeff says Radiance is the rare label where I wanted to order almost all of their releases. Yeah, they're one of those labels that you kind of can't go wrong with anything they put out in terms of quality of the movie, at least from what I've gotten so far. And these are all stuff that I've never really seen for the most part. Yes, some of them had been things that I had seen already, um, like like some of the Robert Altman stuff, like Thieves Like Us. I had seen The Bride Wore Black, which I believe is a Truffaut film. I had seen that before, but like 90% of the things I hadn't seen. Welcome to the Dollhouse I'd seen. The Hot Spot I'd seen because that was a Dennis Hopper film. But most of these things are films I've never heard of before. And we've had Fran Simeone on here before, the head over at Radiance. And that seems to be like a mission from them is to really unearth a lot of unseen films that have never really seen the light of day in physical media form. And that's kind of what the boutique labels do. That's kind of, I think, one of their main missions, at least from what I've found so far doing chasing labels over all these years. But yeah, totally agree. Um, so that is it from Radiance. So let me get rid of the third man tab. Let me get rid of the Radiance tab so I can keep my brain functioning here. Hold on. I probably should have gone over the special features. Let me go back to Radiance. Or did I go over them? No, I didn't. Just quickly the special features for the Man from Majorca. We've got on-set reportage during, including behind-the-scenes images and comments from Witterberg. That's 2 minutes. Well, that's not really much there. TV feature featuring Witterberg. It's 3 minutes long from 1984. Interview with assistant director Harold Hamrell. Interview with Barry Forshaw, author of Nordic Noir. And that's it. That's it. But I did want to mention something else because that name Witterberg made me think of something. It made me think of that there's a Bo Witterberg box set from Criterion. There it is. So Bo Witterberg's New Swedish Cinema is a box set that came out from Criterion very recently, and that has like early Bo Witterberg films. I think that's the same director. Hold on. Let me go back to what I was looking at here. Let's see. Yeah, Bo Witterberg. I think it's the same director from that box set. So if you get that box set and then this from the Man from Majorca, you've got yourself a nice little Bo Witterberg collection going on here. I did want to go back and check out some of these comments we've got here. Josie had her first time watches, as she always does. First time watchers since last time. Stir Crazy from 1980. That's the Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor film. The Reptile from 1966. Key Largo. With Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart, Edward G. Robinson. Coincidentally, today, I believe September 16th, is Lauren Bacall's birthday. The late, great Lauren Bacall. It's her birthday today. We got The Funhouse from 1981. I think that's that horror movie. Larceny Inc., Maniac Cop from 1988. That's a fun movie. Maniac Cop, I was streaming on Shutter. I don't know if it still is. Maniac Cop, if I remember correctly, is um it's the movie directed by um William Lustig, by Bill Lustig. Um, we've actually interviewed Bill Lustig here on Chasing Labels once upon a time. Uh, but that interview was lost due to technical issues. And it was just one of the biggest kind of, you know, kerfuffles of the Chasing Labels history, I guess, where we had this great interview with Bill Lustig from over at Blue Underground, talking about his life and his career, and then what he's doing over at Blue Underground. And we just lost the interview due to technical issues. And damn, to this day, Stephen and I still talk about losing that interview. Um, yeah, but Bill Lustig directed Maniac Cop. And The Count of Monte Cristo from 2002. A little bit of Andrew lore here. The Count of Monte Cristo is one of the first DVDs I ever bought. It's one of the first DVDs I ever bought at Suncoast Video at the mall here in my area. I bought that, and I bought Gladiator on DVD as well at the same time. I think I still have it. Holy heck. Yo, I can see it over there on the shelf. I'm going to get it. Hold on. Look at this. Look at this piece of Andrew collecting history here. The Count of Monte Cristo on DVD, bought at Suncoast Video probably around 2003 or so. I even have all the original stuff that it came with. I never get rid of this stuff. Never do. The original inserts, whatever's in here, original ads. Look at that. You can get free regular ice cream from Cold Stove Creamery. Holy heck. Then you've got the scene selection insert. Hopefully those of you can see that. It's got the poster on the back here. And then you get the DVD. Man, this has been sitting in my collection for 20 years. And here it is. I've never upgraded it, actually. It's one of the movies I've got to upgrade from DVD to Blu-ray. I still haven't. So this is a trip down memory lane. This movie stars Guy Pearce, Jim Caviezel. Very young Henry Cavill is in this movie. Unbelievable. Kind of unbelievable I still have this. Richard Harris is in this film as well. Louis Guzman, I believe, is also in this. Underrated movie. Underrated movie. It really is. It really is. Let me put this over here. Oh, man. Yeah. Jeff, Suncoast. When I was a kid growing up in the 90s, pre-DVD days, Suncoast Video they sold VHS, they sold laser discs, and other stuff. But at the mall, I would walk in there and it would be such an overwhelming place because they had the shelves lined up to the ceiling, floor to ceiling of VHS tapes. And it was a small little store in the mall. And that was kind of where a lot of my love for movies and movie collecting started. Like, I walked in there and it's like, I want everything in here. I didn't know what any of it was. I just know I wanted it. I just know I wanted it. Really incredible stuff. But that was kind of what it was like growing up as a kid in the 90s. I was born in 87, so by the time the 90s hit, I was like 3 years old. From 3 to 13, those formative years. In the 90s, the main place to go as a kid were like toy stores, comic book stores, the mall. The mall was a wonderland. You know what I mean? If you've ever seen Kevin Smith's movie Mallrats, a lot of stuff is very real in that movie. As silly and funny as that movie is, and maybe dated for many people, being a mall rat as a kid was something you just did. You just went to the mall and didn't really do anything. You just hung out there. You hung out at the food court, you went in and out of stores, you maybe, you ate at the food court, whatever. If there was a movie theater there, you would go to the movies. And a lot of that stuff happened in the 80s and 90s. It's not so much that way now. Malls are kind of dying or dead or on their way out. But man, it's a hell of a trip. Hell of a trip. Where was I? Oh yeah. So Bo Vitterberg has a Blu-ray set from Criterion, a man from Majorca. So let me move on from there. I close that out. Let me move on in my notes. Let's go to Shout. So Scream Factory and Shout Factory has a few stuff that they're coming out with in November. So we've got let me just run these down and then we'll get into some of the ones that I find interesting. Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, is getting a 4K UHD release. They're putting out the Stephen Chow collection, which contains Lookout Officer, Justice My Foot, The Mad Monk, Out of the Dark, and then we've got the Ron Howard film Rush is getting a 4K UHD release. Labyrinth, both Labyrinth and The Dark Crystal are getting these limited edition collector sets in 4K releases. Both of these movies, I believe, have already been released in 4K. Now they're getting these kind of super deluxe collector's edition sets. It's tough to explain them to you without visualizing it. They're these big elaborate collector's editions essentially. Like I believe Dark Crystal is coming there's like a sphere like David Bowie was holding in the movie. And then the Dark Crystal is something else. Hold on, let me see if I can actually. Be nice if they like posted pictures of this on Blu-ray.com and I didn't have to go digging. Let me see. No, I'm not gonna go. Yeah, I don't have time to go digging for this here while I'm live on air. Oh, here it is. I did find it. So it looks like the Dark Crystal coming in like a giant box as well with some art stuff and whatnot. They're basically super duper collector's editions and whatnot. Yeah, so those are both getting re-releases. If you own the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth already, perhaps these aren't for you. I still need to upgrade to 4K. Actually, I have the Blu-rays from years ago. Actually, I have a Labyrinth Blu-ray digibook that had the new 4K restoration on it, but it's not a 4K. So that's something I need to upgrade myself. So those are getting released, and then we've got Born on the 4th of July, the Oliver Stone film is getting a 4K UHD release. That's kind of a big deal. Golden Harvest Volume 1 Supernatural Shockers. So, for those of you who are in the Chasing Labels Facebook page, a little while ago, I had posted that there were rumors that we were going to be getting Golden Harvest box sets, similar to how we've been getting box sets of like the Shaw Brothers from both Arrow as well as Shout Factory. I guess Shout Factory's now going to be doing Golden Harvest sets as well. And this is their volume 1. It's volume 1 Supernatural Shockers. And in this box set, they have 6 movies. They've got Sex and Zen, Erotic Ghost Story 2, Erotic Ghost Story 3, Dr. Vampire, and then Robotrix. And these are all Golden Harvest films that came out from 1990 to 1992. Later stuff from Golden Harvest, certainly so. Not so much their 70s martial arts type of things. Later, more supernatural, I'm assuming very campy type of stuff. I think they're also like category 3 type of stuff. Let me see what it says. From legendary Hong Kong studio Golden Harvest comes a collection of genre thrillers originally rated as category 3 titles. The Supernatural Shockers set is for adults only and contains some of the most notorious and outrageous Chinese films of the video store era, including Robotrix, Dr. Vampire, Erotic Ghost Story 1, 2, and 3, and Sex and Zen, and ghosts, robots, and vampires. More bumps in the night. Oh, wait. This is coming out November 12th. So if you have all of the other many like Shaw Brothers sets that Shout's been putting out, This is probably going to go along with it. We don't have anything in the way of special features or details when it comes to any of these releases yet. We don't even have. I don't think we don't have much in the way of artwork to be truthful with any of you. But I have to assume that the Golden Harvest set's going to look similar to those Shaw Brothers sets that Shaw has put out. Next, they are re-releasing Escape from New York in a 4K steelbook. Bones and All is getting a 4K UHD release. Now, that is the Luca Guadagnino film starring Timothy Chalamet. And that movie has only had a Blu-ray release up until now. This is the movie he did a couple of years ago in 2022 with Timothy Chalamet. And who else was in that film? Chloe Sevigny, Michael Stuhlbarg, Mark Rylance, Taylor Russell, and Andre Holland. Hold on. Let's see. Bones and All. I remember actually really liking that movie. I remember kind of falling relatively under the radar. It's a love story with cannibalism, for those of you who have not seen it. And you may think that sounds a little weird. Well, it is. It's weird, it's gory, but it's also heartfelt and romantic and good. And good in my opinion. Very good. Yes. This is the movie he did before he did Challengers. Challengers, which I have somewhere. Yeah, I have it here. So this is the new Luca Guadagnino film. I also have a couple of his other films as well. I have Call Me By Your Name. I have his version of Suspiria, which I think is very good, the one with Dakota Johnson. And so all I'm missing is kind of Bones and All. I'm missing Bones and All. Let me put this back over here. Let's see. Moving back to what else they're releasing. Krampus is getting a re-release in a 4K Blu-ray steelbook. So a couple of things of note. Like I said, a couple of things of note. I believe our buddy Justin Beam from over at Reverend Entertainment, he's doing the special features for Born on the 4th of July. He already did the special features for the JFK that Shout put out last year, the 4K release of that. I think he also did the special features for Krampus, the original release of Krampus. So those special features are going to carry over to that as well. That's something to mention. Let's see. Yeah, I do want to talk about Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. So Dragon, the Bruce Lee story came out in 1993. And I remember watching that as a kid. I remember renting that on VHS. I was probably like 6 or 7 years old when I watched it. Had no idea really what it was. All I know is that it was, something to do with Bruce Lee. And at the time, I just wanted to watch Bruce Lee movies, and I didn't care anything about it. You know what I mean? As one does at that age, they don't really care about too many things. And I remember watching it, and the only thing I remember about that movie is towards the end, there's a dreamlike sequence where the Bruce Lee character in the movie, well, not character, the actor playing Bruce Lee, fights this warrior in this dream. And obviously now as an adult, I realize it's a metaphor for certain things and whatnot. But I remember that. I remember being in the rain, and that's all I remembered from the movie. So I hadn't seen the movie in about 30 years. So I rewatched it for this. I always wanted to get it on Blu-ray, but I guess I'll wait now for the 4K to come out. And it's an interesting biopic that feels more like a tribute to the myth, to the legend of Bruce Lee than actually telling a story of his life, if that makes sense. It's very fictionalized. It's mythologizing. That's a word, but it's playing more as that than anything. And I enjoyed it for what it was in that regard. Yeah, it's an interesting film. I'm wondering what people will think of it and looking back at it now, in modern times. But yeah, that's it from Scream/Shout. This is their November batch of 4Ks and Blu-rays, so check their website for that. Check Diabolic, check Orbit DVD, all those things. So let's move on from there. What are we doing on time here? We're about an hour in. We're about an hour in. We're looking good. We're looking good. Let me see what other comments here that I miss. Jeff, you did say that you had watched A Moment of Romance and The Facts of Murder. Great films. I did. I've seen A Moment of Romance as well. I actually got. If you're still here with us, I've got it right here next to me. That's why I'm going to hold it up. A Moment of Romance. This is a really good film. This is a just a damn good film. A damn good film, if I do say so myself. Um, so highly recommend that for people if you haven't seen it yet. Um, so let's move on from what I was just talking about. Let's see. Let's let's talk about the Severin news. So I touched a little bit on what was going on over at Severin the last time, or was it last episode or the previous episode? Anywho, recently, what's going on at Severin is it looks like they got their hands on the rights to some Russ Meyer films. Excuse me. Excuse me. And not only did they get their hands on some Russ Meyer films, they're going to be releasing 3 of them in a box set on, I believe, December 3rd, in a 4K box set, mind you. So I'm assuming price is going to be a little high for this, but worth it. Probably worth it because Russ Meyer's estate doesn't really lend out his films to just anyone. They're very protective of his work. And Severin has been able to get the rights to 3 of his films, the films being Vixen, SuperVixens, and what's the third film here? I want to make sure I get it right because it's got a name. Beneath the Valley of the Ultra-Vixens. So they had a big write-up in Variety about it. There's another article here that I have up on Screen Anarchy where they talk a little bit more about the details about the situation. Yeah, where David Gregory over there says Russ Meyer was perhaps the most pivotal pioneer of what we call cult independent film. He was both a visionary filmmaker as well as a distributor, and single-handedly fought local censorship battles across the nation that changed our culture forever. Today, indie film is an industry in which tens of millions of dollars help produce edgy entertainment for informed audiences. Russ Meyer made that possible, and Severin Films is enormously proud to showcase his extraordinary legacy. Very, very true in all of that. Russ Meyer was a true pioneer of pushing the envelope of what you could put on screen when it came to cinema, when it came to specifically sexploitation and exploitation and things like that, pushing back against censorship and expression and all of those things. Like I said last time, very much a big fan of his work. Is one of my favorites, John Waters. I always have Pink Flamingos next to me here as for moral support. Moral support. So very much I've heard John Waters talk about him before. I've heard him talked about in many a documentary when it's come to kind of the independent cinema movement of the 1960s and the 1970s, all of that stuff. So they are putting out a release that I'm assuming is going to be very nice. Let's see if I can get some more information on it. Yeah, the upcoming release, available only as a trilogy box set, will feature the classic Bosomania style artwork that Meyer designed himself decades ago in tribute to the filmmaker's wishes. It will be available on DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K, all restored from the original camera negatives, and marking the first high definition and ultra high definition releases of the films anywhere. This is a very big deal. I think I read where it's coming December 3rd. Let me see if I can actually confirm that here if I'm not just speaking out of turn. Yeah, for December 3rd. It says right here, the initial trio, the very loosely linked Vixen trilogy, pre-order for the set on all major outlets open in October with release set for December 3rd. Okay, so I was right. Awesome. Awesome stuff. So we don't have any details yet about what the special features are going to look like, but like I said, trust in Severin. Severin really hasn't steered us wrong when it's come to its special features package or things like that. There are several other of his films that I would like to have seen get released. Faster Pussycat Kill Kill has a Blu-ray release. Actually, it's got a Blu-ray release from years ago that's now out of print. So Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, his 1965 film was put out by RM Films International in 2015. That Blu-ray is long out of print, long out of print. So that would be an awesome re-release. But for right now, we're getting those three. We're getting those three movies. We're getting Vixen, SuperVixens, and Beneath the Valley of the Ultra-Vixens. I think a film that many of you are probably most aware of when it comes to Russ Meyer, like I said before, is was it Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, the film that was written by the late great Roger Ebert. I have the movie. Here we go. So I have this movie in my collection. I just have to find it. It's here somewhere. Trust me, it's here somewhere. Because I did log it on Blu-ray.com as owning it, so I have to just locate it. Yeah, so Beyond the Valley of the Dolls is the one that I'm pretty sure most people know him for. It's got the Criterion release, like I said. So yeah, that's awesome news from Severin. Yeah, Jeff, like I said, yeah, a lot of people are freaking out over the Myers films. They are because they've never been allowed to really be restored or remastered in any way. Like I said, the Russ Meyer estate has been very protective of his work. So this is a pretty big deal, and for Severin to get it is appropriate. Makes a lot of sense, and I'm pretty sure they're going to do an awesome job with it. Cool stuff. So that's Severin. Let's go over to Kino now because I forgot all about our buddies over at Kino. There we go. Good thing I had this tab up. Let me get rid of that tab. Okay, let me get rid of this one as well, and that one. So we've got some stuff to concentrate on. So where we left off from Kino Lorber Studio Classics, or Kino Lorber from last time, on October 29th, they are going to be releasing in 4K UHD a movie called Circus of Horrors. This is a 2-disc edition, the 4K UHD disc, as well as the regular Blu-ray disc. This is a 1960 British horror film. So the premise of this movie, I actually just watched it last night. It was the last movie I watched in preparation for this week's episode. Like I said, it came out in 1960. It's set in 1947, but it's set over a number of years. Anywho, so there's this doctor who there's this plastic surgeon who's on the run. He's on the run because he performed a surgery and the surgery went bad, and he's kind of now wanted for it. I think the person he performed a plastic surgery on was a wife of a very wealthy man. So obviously the man wants revenge, I guess. So he runs away along with his nurse and I think the nurse's brother, and they run away and they end up coming across this kind of circus in the middle of nowhere. And they come across this little girl who has she has not a deformity, she's got scars on her face. Because this is 1947, this is the aftermath of World War II, a lot of bombs have been dropped in this area of the world. So a lot of people have sustained injuries. So this young girl has sustained these injuries on her face, and he fixes her up. And her father, portrayed by a young Donald Pleasance with hair, he strikes a deal with him, saying that, I guess in lieu of payment, I want to take over your circus. He basically is going to be using the circus to hide behind. Like, he changed his name and he's basically on the run. So he wants to basically hide behind this circus. So what ends up happening, due to circumstances, he ends up gaining control of the circus, and he ends up taking in people with other physical scars and performing plastic surgeries on them and changing their names and changing their identities and changing them and using them as people in the circus acts. But the problem is that he's still on the run. He's still on the run, and he's taking in people who basically want to change their identity because they are also on the run for various reasons. So he's kind of digging himself deeper and deeper into this hole where he's kind of becoming obsessed with not only the kind of idea of plastic surgery, but also um he wants to not be discovered himself. So he's got to like shore up some loose ends in nefarious ways. And of course, things kind of go from there. But it's a good little like 1960s British horror film. Um, I dug it. I ended up really liking it a lot. Like it's digging into like a lot of like psychosis and stuff like that. He's kind of like a mad scientist, if you will, but he's a plastic surgeon, and it is dealing with kind of plastic surgery at a very rudimentary time period where you don't think of plastic surgery in the 1940s or 50s. You think of that as a more modern type of thing. And the film is kind of interesting for that. So I liked it. I liked it. I thought it would be part of that kind of Kino cult line, but it's not. It's not. And they must like it enough to give it a 4K UHD release, as well as a Blu-ray release too. So that's pretty interesting. So there's an audio commentary here by historian David Dalvale. It's from a 2008 UHD SDR master. So it's standard dynamic range. It's not high dynamic range, so no Dolby Vision, no HDR, no HDR10. None of that stuff is coming with this, which is fine. I think for a movie from 1960, that's not, it's not Technicolor or anything like that. It's not anything gaudy in any way. After watching it, it's not a very colorful film. So having an HDR where the colors and things would pop, kind of don't really need it. But I understand that people complain about those things and whatnot. Yeah. So moving on from there, we've got a Deadly Circuit, film starring Michelle Serrault and Isabelle Adjani. Isabelle Adjani being from the movie Possession. And I think if I go and look, this is the movie she did after Possession. Excuse me again. Yes. Let's see. Possession came out in 1981. Let me scroll down. Of course. What do we have? Yeah, so it's not the film that she did after Possession. No. Possession was in 1981, and this movie came out in 1983. She did quite a few movies in between then. But Deadly Circuit is another interesting film, where she plays somebody somewhat unhinged. Not quite to the levels of the movie Possession, but you understand what I'm saying. So let me get a yeah. So screen legend Isabelle Adjani is the ultimate femme fatale, a serial killer who lures wealthy men to their deaths. Michel Serrault, who's from the Cage aux Folles, a solitary detective known as the Eye is in pursuit. Um, and he's got some things going on as well. He's got some mental things going on as well in the movie. So he is a private investigator, and he is investigating this woman who is a serial killer. And the problem is that he's not so much investigating her as he is stalking her and following her, becoming obsessed with her from afar. Um, he's also going so far as to kind of covering up some of her crimes as well, because in his mind he believes that she is his long lost daughter who he kind of abandoned once upon a time. So, like I said, he's got things going on, she's got things going on, mentally and whatnot, and they're kind of on a collision course. And that's what the movie is. And I think it's really good. Like I think it's a rather good film. It's called Deadly Circuit. Um, yeah, I think the original title is Mortel Redonné. I think there's another name to it as well, but either way, it's called like Deadly Run or something like that as well. I like it. It's kind of like a weird 80s, like I said, neo noir. Um, it's written. One of the writers is Jacques Audiard. If this is the same Jacques Audiard that I'm thinking about, it looks like it is. So Jacques Audiard is the director of a couple of movies that I like. A Prophet. He also directed Rust and Bone, which I think is underrated and not talked about at all. That's the movie starring Marion Cotillard, and he directed the movie Deepan, which is um, in the Criterion Collection as well. Um, I think Dupont won the Palme d'Or, if I remember correctly. This is a movie from 2015. Um, yeah, let me see if I can scroll down and find it. Tell you, I am all over the place when it comes to some of these things. But either way, he was one of the writers of this film. Let's see, Palme d'Or, not the Palme d'Or. I'm looking for. Maybe it didn't win the Palme d'Or. Hold on. Yeah, it did. It did win the Palme d'Or. I was right. Two of his movies have won the Palme d'Or. Um, it's So yeah, it's interesting that he was one of the writers on it. Let's see if I can find what the other film that he won the Palme d'Or for. Ba, ba, ba. Sorry, my computer is slow, slow, slow. Just don't crash out on me like it did a few times ago. Um, no, it was only Dupont. It was only Dupont that won the Palme d'Or. Excuse me. But anywho, that is what was I talking about? Well, I lost my place. That is the movie Deadly Circuit from 1983. It's got a 2K restoration by TF1, new audio commentary by film historian / filmmaker Daniel Kramer. Yeah. And then next we've got there's the movie called Play It Again, Sam, starring Woody Allen, Diane Keaton. Hold on, I think I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. Yeah, so Play It Again, Sam is getting a Blu-ray release. It doesn't tell us when. This is a movie I saw years ago. I actually have the DVD in my collection somewhere. I bought it. I found it at a used DVD store a long, long time ago. But Play It Again, Sam takes from the title, takes from the quote from Casablanca, but I believe it's a misquote from Casablanca. So a film critic obsessed with Casablanca seeks to get over his wife leaving him by dating again with the help of a married couple and his illusionary idol Humphrey Bogart. And the lead is Woody Allen, and I think the woman is Diane Keaton. Like I said, it's been years since I've seen the movie. It's been years since I've seen it. So let me move on from there, just because I don't have much to say about it. It's written by Woody Allen, directed by Herbert Ross, who did The Last of Sheila, The Goodbye Girl, and The Secret of My Success. The Last of Sheila has a Warner Archive release. The Goodbye Girl, I think, also has a Warner Archive release. Interesting connection there. Next is a movie that was way more serious than I thought it would be, and that is Orca the Killer Whale is getting a 4K UHD release sometime soon. This film came out in 1977, so post Jaws, starring Richard Harris, Charlotte Rampling, Bo Derek is in the film, Keenan Wynn is in the film, Robert Carradine is in the film. It's shot by the same guy who shot Thunderball. It's got music by Ennio Morricone. Yeah, it's written by the same guy who wrote The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and the same person who wrote Once Upon a Time and the Rest, and is directed by Michael Anderson, who directed Operation Crossbow and then Logan's Run. Yeah, I thought this movie was going to be like a Jaws ripoff that was going to be kind of like a B movie. And it's not. Yes, it is similar to Jaws in the sense that instead of a killer shark, we have a killer whale. It's an orca. But the movie's taken way more seriously than I thought it was going to be based off of that premise. Richard Harris just goes for it in this movie. They make this movie as serious as like Herman Melville's Moby Dick. Like it's like serious like that. Like existential crises type of stuff going on here. Like deeply like justified revenge by the killer whale is a main part of the plot. like just big time, uh, not big time action scenes, but like some brutal stuff going on here when it comes to like the killings and whatnot. So Richard Harris is the captain of this boat, and he decides he's going to go out and catch a killer whale. But what he ends up doing is kind of killing the life mate of another orca, of another killer whale. And this killer whale decides he wants to get revenge on this guy the whole time. And the whale must be smart as hell because he starts playing mind games with him the whole time. Like he starts like sinking boats in the marina and like stalking him on the shoreline and like leaving him like not messages, but you know what I'm saying? Like all kinds of stuff, like manipulating him and whatnot to lure him out to fight him. It's really interesting movie, and you think that sounds silly. You think that sounds ridiculous, and on paper it does. But the movie takes those things so seriously that you're like, wait a minute, is this a serious thing? You start questioning yourself when watching it. What a fascinating movie, I tell you. Not what I was expecting. Not what I was expecting, but also what I was expecting. But yeah, that's Orca the Killer Whale. That's Orca the Killer Whale. Next, we have a Clint Eastwood Western called Two Mules for Sister Sarah. I think I've mentioned this before. I think this has been announced already, and we're getting details now. I feel like we are. So Two Mules for Sister Sarah is coming November 14th on 4K UHD, and they're basically re-releasing all of the Clint Eastwood stuff in 4K. That's what they've been doing slowly over the last little while. They've released them on deluxe Blu-rays that I'm sure many of you have in your collections. I know I do. Like Two Mules for Sister Sarah, excuse me again, just got a Blu-ray release a couple of years ago. So Two Mules for Sister Sarah actually originally had a Blu-ray release by Universal back in 2014. And then Kino put out their own Blu-ray edition of that in 2020. And now this is going to be a 4K upgrade of that. So if you have that release already, you already have all those special features and whatnot. So I don't know if you want to upgrade. That's depending on you. I know that Blu-ray already looked really, really good. Came with a couple of special features here and there. I don't think there's anything else new on it. Let me check. Um, Actually, there is some new stuff. Hold on now. Hold on now. Kino's making us upgrade again. So, Two Mules for Sister Sarah, 2-disc edition, 4K UHD disc, Blu-ray disc. It's the 2020 4K restoration. So it's the same. No, wait, hold on. Brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master of the international cut from a 4K scan of a 35mm original camera negative. That's on the 4K disc. There's a new audio commentary by author and film historian Justin Humphreys, and then there's an audio commentary by filmmaker Alex Cox. And so you got a new audio commentary that's not on the old release. And then on the Blu-ray, you have a 2020 4K restoration of the domestic cut. So you get two cuts of the film, one in 4K UHD and one on Blu-ray. So that's interesting. And I did get to see this movie. So I've seen it. It's Clint Eastwood and Shirley MacLaine. And they're kind of hanging out in the desert post-Civil War Mexico. So what's happening in post-Civil War Mexico, basically the 1860s, is there's a bit of a war going on there. You've got like Mexican revolutionaries versus like a European French army. Because historical things going on there. Monarchists take over Mexico during that time period, and they want to put someone on the throne, and they decide they're going to put the brother. I think it's the brother of the Kaiser of Austria, Maximilian. That's who they put on the throne there because of certain historical reasons and whatnot. So basically, they put him as like the emperor of Mexico. But then there's a revolution going on of anti-monarchists who want to restore the previous government in there and whatnot. So there's a war going on. Clint Eastwood, for some reason, is down there in Mexico, and he's like working for the revolutionaries, and he comes across Shirley MacLaine in the middle of the desert, and she's being attacked. He saves her, and then they end up kind of going off by themselves because she's also helping the revolutionaries as well. So they team up together, and basically it's them two in like a romantic comedy across the desert, and it's good. Like they have great chemistry on screen. Shirley MacLaine is great. Clint Eastwood uh, is actually good in the movie. Not incredibly one note. Um, so yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. I actually really enjoyed the movie a lot. So that's Two Mules for Sister Sarah. It's a movie I'd been wanting to see for years, but I'm glad I waited, so now I can get it. So next we've got a movie called The Claim. Now this is a movie from the year 2000. This is a movie directed by Michael Winterbottom. Michael Winterbottom, uh, he, he directed a lot of things, but for me, he directed those movies with Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon, the Trip movies, where they would basically just go around uh different areas in different countries eating. Like he do like I think the trip was through through places in Great Britain, and there's the trip Italy. Yeah, Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon, and they're playing like fictionalized versions of themselves. Hold on, I'm seeing the yeah, Michael Winterbottom. Yeah, he directed like all of those things and whatnot. Um, yeah, there's the trip to Greece. He also directed that movie, The Wedding Guest, with Dev Patel. The trip to Spain. Um, things like that. Movies like that. Check out his IMDb. I think he directed the movie Wonderland as well. Yeah, he directed that movie Wonderland. Okay, let me move back out of here. So The Claim is, like I said, a movie in this came out in the year 2000, starring Wes Bentley, Mila Jovovich, Natasha Kinski, Peter Mullen, Sarah Polley is in the film as well. Um, and this movie, let me get the let me get the synopsis of it because I have the synopsis in my head, but I need something a little more structured here just to make things easier for all of us here. So, a prospector who sold his wife and infant daughter in exchange for a mining claim tries desperately to win them back as he helps to build the Pacific Railroad through a group of pioneer friends. So, yeah, starts off in not the best way. So, this man and his wife and young child, well, baby, are traveling through, I believe, the California mountains. Because takes place in 1849. So this is 1849, around the gold rush. And they're basically just like stranded in the middle of these wintry mountains and desperate. So he comes across this guy like living in some type of ragtag shelter area, and he trades his wife and child for gold, and not only gold, but the claim to this mine as well, this gold mine as well. And he starts a town there. He becomes very wealthy, and he is in the process. And then we flash forward in the process. He wants to have the railroad, which is trying to make its way to through California, come through his town. So can kind of flash forward 18 years after 1849, so 1867 or so. His long lost wife and daughter show up to his town, where he runs everything. He's the big wig. He owns the town. He's a wealthy guy now, and as you can imagine, things are a little awkward. Things are a little awkward. The daughter is now grown up. She's played by Sarah Polley. I believe the wife is played by Natasha Kinski. Mila Jovovich she runs like the local brothel slash saloon in town. And she has a relationship with Peter Mullen's character, who's this rich guy, and you can imagine the drama kind of just um, naturally grows from there. Naturally grows from there. I won't get into all of the things about it. It's a fine movie. It's a fine 2000 drama, probably forgotten by many. It's worth a watch if you like kind of those period pieces. Wes Bentley is this young pioneer guy who I think he works for the railroad and he's trying to like figure out a way for the railroad to come through this town. It may or may not be able to, and that will dictate whether this town survives or not. Because you can imagine how key the railroad would be to a town that needs commerce and things like that. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting drama from that time. It's fine. It's a fine film. You know, good acting, decent story, whatever. Um, I don't think I'm going to remember it much past actually watching it once, which I did. But move on from there. Move on from there. We've got a 3D Blu-ray on the way. So coming soon on 3D Blu-ray, stereoscopic alignment by 3D Film Archive from a 4K scan of a 35 millimeter composite internegative is Frankenstein's Bloody Terror, starring Paul Naschy, directed by Enrique Lopez Aguilez. No, oh, that was rough. That was rough. Aguilez. Oh boy, that's terrible. I apologize for any Spanish-speaking people. Um, that was awful. But you got another film starring Paul Naschy as a monster. I know there's two Paul Naschy box sets from Shout Factory / Shout Studios. Pretty sure those of you who have horror fans know of his work. I don't get into all of that. So I'll move on from there. Just moving it along, move at a quicker pace here. Coming November 4th is another Clint Eastwood film. This is Play Misty for Me. Is getting a 4K UHD release. This was another one of those movies that just got a Blu-ray release by Kino a couple of years ago. Play Misty for Me is a good one from 1971. This Blu-ray, yeah, the Blu-ray came out in 2020. I know because I have it in my collection. It's directed by Clint Eastwood. I think it's one of the first films he ever directed. Hold on now. Let me check Clint Eastwood's directorial filmography. Let me see. Moving from him as a actor to a director. He actually has a new movie coming out sometime this year, actually. It's called Juror Number 2. I think it's coming out in November. Keep your eyes out for that, for those of you who are fans of Clint Eastwood. Yeah, Play Misty for Me was the first film he ever directed. Wow, incredible. Yeah. After this, he directed a scene in Dirty Harry. He directed a short called The Beguiled, The Storyteller. And then the next feature film he directed was High Plains Drifter. It was High Plains Drifter, which I believe has a Blu-ray release from Kino already as well. Very cool, very cool. But Play Misty for Me not only stars Clint Eastwood, it also stars the late great Jessica Walter. Oh yeah, High Plains Drifter also has a Blu-ray, has a 4K as well. Interesting. So like I said, they're doing them all. They're doing them all. Let's see here. Yes, Jeff. I think you're talking about what it says Eastwood and Siegel, great team. I believe you're talking about Two Mules for Sister Sarah. I didn't mention that. Let me see. Let me go back. Ba, 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 ba. Two Mules for Sister Sarah was, of course, they don't show it here. Yeah, directed by Don Siegel. Don Siegel and him were quite a pair. They were quite a pair. They were they did several movies together. I think I brought it up several times. Let me see. Hold on. I forgot how to spell Don Siegel. Of course, IMDb does not help me. Yeah, he directed Escape from Alcatraz. Don Siegel. He directed Escape from Alcatraz, Dirty Harry, The Beguiled, Two Mules for Sister Sarah, Coogan's Bluff. I'm going over just all of the The Clint Eastwood directed stuff from him. Let's see, yes. Yeah, he did do he did The Killer Inside Me, Good Noir. Agreed. Let's see, where was I? Losing my mind here. Yes. Back to Play Misty for Me. Yes, Play Misty for Me. Like I said, starring the late great Jessica Walter. This is a movie dealing with like obsession. Specifically, obsession when it comes to celebrity obsession, you could say. So yeah, Play Misty for Me. The life of a disc jockey is turned upside down after a romantic encounter with an obsessed fan. Yes, and the obsessed fan is portrayed by Jessica Walter, and she stalks the heck out of Clint Eastwood in this film. And it gets scary. And the movie is very much ahead of its time, like I said, when it comes to the idea of uh, fandom, obsessive fandom. Obsessive fandom that can lead to stalking, that can lead to violence, that can lead to all kinds of things. And we see it now in today's world, especially in the world of social media and all of that. It can lead to not only negative consequences for the person or the celebrity or the person that this is happening to, but other fans as well. We've seen it happen with toxic fandoms and all that kinds of stuff. So the movie was decades and decades ahead of its time when it came to talking about all of those things. Yeah, so Play Misty for Me. I do recommend that movie to anyone. It is also a bit of a horror film, as you can imagine. So it's ripe for watching during the Halloween or spooky season, which is upon us right now. Um, Now, for me personally, will I upgrade this? I don't know. I kind of hate that it's only been 4 years since the previous Blu-ray have come out. I know that's the world in which we live in. Is the 4K upgrades are happening fast and furious now, and so we have no real say in that, other than if we want to buy them or not. But yeah, that's just the way it is. Let me get rid of this. So I think that's it for Kino. Again, this is coming out November 4th if anybody's interested. It's got 2 discs. It's got the 4K UHD disc, it's got the Blu-ray disc, uh, brand new HDR Vision slash Dolby Vision Master from 4K scan, the original 35 millimeter camera negative. New audio commentary by screenwriter slash producer Alan Spencer. Audio commentary by novelist Tim and critic Tim Lucas. We got some nice extras here on the second disc as well. 2022K Master by Kino Lorber is on the Blu-ray disc. That's what I have in my collection. But yeah, that's it from Kino. Let's see what else I've got here. I've got two single stuff I want to go to before we get to Criterion. What are we looking in terms of time here? Okay. Let's see. Get that up. So 88 Films had a couple of things that they announced. Not really announced, but they didn't give us any real details on any of these. Well, they did, but there's only like one movie here that I'm kind of interested in. 88 Films is kind of random when it comes to their announcements. They'll announce either nothing or they will announce tons of things. So it's hard to keep up. But lucky our good friend over at The Disconnected, Ryan Verrill, put some of this on his Facebook page so I can actually sift through it and see what I want. But there will be an 88 Films website exclusive version of this film. But they will be releasing the Jackie Chan film Dragon Fist from 1979 in 4K UHD. They're releasing a deluxe 4K, a standard 4K, and a Blu-ray. Now, I believe they've already released this once upon a time in 2018. Dragon Fist. Yes, they released it in 2018 by itself, but I believe this is a brand new. I would have to assume this is a brand new remaster for the 4K release at least. Um, I don't think there's any. Yeah, there's no info on it yet in terms of details about what's in it, but I have to assume it's going to be rather deluxe, at least the extras package when it comes to this deluxe edition. But yeah, it's a I think it's a Golden Harvest. Yeah, it's a Golden Harvest Jackie Chan film. Um, they've been releasing these a lot, and we've been seeing a lot of stuff when it comes to Jackie Chan being released here in the US. When it comes to there's two Jackie Chan box sets from Shout, I believe. Please make sure I actually have that correct. Yeah, there's 2 volumes from Jackie Chan, and there's a Jackie Chan box set from Criterion that was released in 2023. So there's a lot of early Jackie Chan stuff going on. We've also, of course, had the Police Story box set. We had Police Story 3 Super Cop get released by 88 Films, as well as Eureka, I want to say. We've also got Project, 88 Films also releasing Project A and Project A Part 2 on 4K as well. So that's getting released. So there's some stuff on the way here from 88 Films. Yeah, I can't find it now, of course. Of course, now that I go to look for it, it's no. Oh, there it is. Goodness gracious, 5 days ago. Here we go. So yeah, so independent distributors, 88 Films, have officially announced that they will release on 4K Blu-ray and Blu-ray Project A collection. The 2 films, the one from 1983 and the one from 1987. The 2 releases are scheduled to arrive on the market on October 15th. That's a month from now. And they are coming with tons of special features. And I think these were released by Eureka several years ago. And these will be, yeah, they were released by Eureka in 2018. And these will be the Region A release from 88. Yep, the Region A release. I'm with you, Jeff. But Jeff says can't afford to upgrade everything. Plus, some films look just fine on Blu-ray. You know what? You're right. You're right. I can't argue with that. especially, especially some older films. Steven and I, when Steven was co-hosting with me here, we would have that discussion very frequently. This idea that not everything needs a 4K re-release. Not everything entirely benefits from a 4K re-release as well. Just because the elements may not, be significant, the original elements may not be there for it. You know what I mean? That's one of the reasons. Another reason would be perhaps the movie just, that wasn't the intention. You know what I mean? The intention, film, especially films from the 70s, they looked gritty on purpose. Like there's a lot of film grain in those movies, intentionally so. Like that's just the way they looked. And a lot of modern film watchers and film lovers do not like film grain. And so when you get something that's a higher resolution, like 4K, that film grain that's inherent in that screen is just going to look more present. It's going to look more obvious. It's going to be there in your face, in your face, unless you do the ungodly thing and you scrub it clean like James Cameron does, and you do that nonsense, and you ruin it. Then you get rid of it. You know what I mean? To appease people, I guess, or whatever. A little extra news. We are getting the Terminator in 4K. The Terminator in 4K is coming out. They just released the cover art for the 4K, and it's some of the laziest cover art you've ever seen. It's the same art they've been using for years. It's just Arnold Schwarzenegger's face as the Terminator. I know it's iconic. I know it's cool. I know it's been used a bajillion times, but we've got such great graphic designers out there that are doing incredible work that could give you original, awesome Terminator cover art for release. and you just shell out some of the most god awful generic stuff you've ever seen. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant now, a little bit of a rant. The same thing they're doing with M. Night Shyamalan's work, the same thing they're doing with The Sixth Sense, and oh, what's the other one they're doing? I'm going to look it up because it looks so awful. Um, the same thing they're doing. Oh, and Signs. That's what it was. The Sixth Sense and Signs are getting 4K releases. Now, this is mainstream stuff, but the cover arts look like the worst abominations you've ever seen when it comes to just Photoshop laziness. And it's like, come on, people. There are artists out there just chomping at the bit to make some great stuff, and this is what you're giving us. It's like they don't. It's like the mainstream studios don't care, and we kind of know they don't, but make it a little less obvious, a little less obvious. But my goodness, that's my little rant there. But you are right, Jeff. Some films do look fine on Blu-ray. Some films do look just fine. Some films look incredible on Blu-ray, to be honest. But yeah, if you got the money, if you want to do it, go right ahead. Nobody here at Chasing Labels will ever stop you. We don't stop the passion, the passion from doing passionate things. So those are the things from 88 films. We got Dragon Fist, Project A, and Project A Part 2 getting 4K releases. Jackie Chan, 70s and 80s goodness. If that's your thing. And then we've got a silent film called The Love Light. This is a silent film from 1921. It's getting released by VCI. And it's coming out. It just says scheduled to arrive on the market in December. So this is a silent film from 1921. Like I said, always gotta shout out some silent film goodness because we don't get a lot of silent film, at least a lot of notoriety when it comes to their releases. So this movie's starring Mary Pickford. You can watch this now on Amazon Prime. You can watch it in various other places like that. It's streaming. Basically, I want to say it's streaming. So the description: the Love Light takes place during the First World War, where Mary Pickford plays a young Italian woman, Angela Carlotti, who tends the local lighthouse and falls in love with a man she rescues from the sea. Her small village suffers devastating losses from the war, and when Angela realizes her lover is a German spy, the story takes a dramatic and unexpected turn. So that's basically the movie. There's a whole third act that is rather different. But that is the bulk of the movie. There's this young woman who rescues this man at sea, and they fall in love, and he turns out to be a German spy. Now, you have to remember that during World War One, Italy was on the good guys' side. Italy was on the good guys' side in World War One, bad guys' side in World War Two. Interesting what 30 years can do in terms of changing of a country, in terms of where they ally themselves on the moral spectrum. But so as you can imagine, holding a German spy leads to a lot of complications, especially when those things are revealed, especially when love is involved and whatnot. Yeah, it's an interesting film. It's definitely worth a watch if you're into silent films. But yeah, of course, with silent films, you have to be patient with the art form and all that kind of stuff. I'm curious what this is going to look like in terms of restoration. I believe it was restored from multiple sources or reconstructed from multiple sources that are by the UCLA Film and TV Archive for the Mary Pickford Foundation, then passed on to VCI Entertainment for final restoration before a global re-release. So it's it's always nice to see things from the silent era get some type of restoration, just for preservation's sake, really, just for preservation's sake. So now we can move on to Criterion. So basically, what hinged on whether this episode was going to be recorded today or recorded tomorrow was going to be based off of what happened with Criterion today. I heard rumors that they were going to have their announcements today, and I was like, if it's things that I had already seen and I can talk about with you guys, then I can, do the stream tonight, do the recording tonight. We'll be all good to go. If it's stuff I hadn't seen and stuff I didn't know about, I want to at least give myself a day to watch some of the things and to get up on the know and to be able to discuss these things and be informative as I possibly can for you. And luckily, it was the former. It is things that I have seen. It's actually it's like 3 out of the 4 things I already have in my collection. So I've already seen these movies. So we've got for their December releases, following up their glorious November releases, we've got Eastern Condors, 8.5 by Federico Fellini. We've got No Country for Old Men by the Coen brothers, and we have Paris, Texas by the Wim Wenders. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. First up, let me talk about the one thing I don't know much about, and that is Eastern Condors. Eastern Condors is a Sammo Hung film. Legendary actor, director Sammo Hung delivers a bazooka blast of pure adrenaline in this exemplar of Hong Kong action cinema at its most entertaining. Drawing inspiration from Hollywood war films like The Dirty Dozen, Eastern Condors follows a ragtag band of Asian American prisoners dropped into Vietnam on a secret suicide mission to prevent a cache of weapons from falling into the hands of the Viet Cong. Very interesting. So what we've got here is a Dirty Dozen type of movie, but done so in a different time, in a different war. And yeah, so we've got it's coming. Is this a 4K? No, this is just a Blu-ray release coming December 17th, 2K restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack, new audio commentary by critic Tony Raines, a 2K digital restoration of the English dubbed export cut of the film. Okay. Meet the filmmakers, a new interview with director Sammo Hung. That's awesome. Interviews from 2001 with Hung and actor Wen Hua. Eastern Condors live on-stage performance from the 1987 Miss Hong Kong pageant. Cool. Plus, there's an essay here by film critic Sean Gilman. So, yeah, I don't know much about this movie, but I am certainly fascinated by it. Yeah, cool. So, moving on from there, we've got stuff here. These 3 movies here. 8.5, No Country for Old Men, and Paris, Texas. All 3 of them are must-see movies. I think for me personally, that's just me talking personally here. Hold on for 1 second because I want to get. Let's see, what do I have here? I want to get some stuff off my shelf. I just have to get Paris, Texas. Hold on. Thank you for holding. Feel like a telemarketer or someone you're talking to on tech support or something. Thank you for holding. I wanted to get my copy of Paris, Texas off the shelf because I already got my copy of No Country for Old Men and 8.5 here as well. I figured I might as well bring all 3 out for show and tell, if you will. But yeah, I feel like these 3 movies are definite must-haves. The must-haves, must-watches somewhere within your viewing life as a film fan. Like, no matter when you come to them, you know what I mean? If you come to them early, you come to them late, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, as long as you get to see them eventually. But let's go one by one. 8.5. The Fellini film. This is a Criterion Collection staple. This is in that CC40 Criterion Collection box set that they're putting out. This is in. They released this in I think they've released in every format. They've released it on DVD. They've released it on Blu-ray. There's the Blu-ray here. They've released it. Oh, I'm going to show you guys something else as well. It's show and tell time here on Chasing Labels. Got this bad mammoth Chandler. So might as well do it, might as well show it off here. So here's the Essential Fellini set. I've already done a full-on review / breakdown of this on the channel. If you want to check it out, please do. It was a cumbersome of a review to do, but yeah, it's it's a massive set. It's one of their prized possession sets, really. Um, it's one of my prized possessions. It's a massive set. It's a cumbersome set, but it's a cool set of so many great Fellini works, including Eight and a Half. Um, yeah, and Eight and a Half is like the staple um like film school movie. Like if you want to be a filmmaker, you watch Eight and a Half at some point. You know what I mean? It's if you watch the Criterion Closet videos, so many people pick up Eight and a Half, uh, or talk about Eight and a Half because it is like the deconstruction of what it is like to make a movie, specifically the stress behind it. Marcello Mastroianni plays Guido Anselmi, a director whose new project is collapsing around him. Along with his life, one of the greatest along with his life. One of the greatest films about film ever made, Federico Fellini's Eight and a Half turns one man's artistic crisis into a grand epic of cinema. An early working title for Eight and a Half was The Beautiful Confusion, and Fellini's masterpiece is exactly that: a shimmering dream, a circus, and a magic act. This movie is surreal. It's brilliant. It's it's everything, man. This movie is undescribably indescribable. It's undescribably indescribable, if that makes any sense. But you can get it on Blu-ray. You can get the new 4K that's coming out. It's available on DVD. It's available streaming, I think, on the Criterion channel. It's available in this gigantic Fellini set, the Essential Fellini set, which I can barely fit in the frame here. Um, so yeah, it's a staple, and I think if I'm pretty sure we're getting all of the same special features that have been around this whole time. I don't think there's anything new here. Yeah, I think it's all the same special features. Just doing a quick. Yeah, it's the same special feature that's on that Blu-ray. I don't think there's anything different. Let me put this over here so I can talk about the other stuff. Sorry, I'm bumping into things. Let's see. So that's Eight and a Half. Then we have No Country for Old Men. Now this is nice. This is a re-release that I think we all needed. No Country for Old Men hasn't had a Blu-ray re-release, at least that I can remember, since it came out. So this No Country for Old Men Blu-ray that I'm about to show you is, I think, from 2008. Yeah. I got it right here. Boom. Yeah, this has been what? Yeah, this is excuse me. Sorry, I'm starting to lose a little bit of focus here, but yeah, this Blu-ray has been around since 2008. It's been re-released a couple of times, but I believe it's the same disc. Sorry, I'm just looking at all the different releases that it's had, but I believe it's all been the same exact disc, just different distributors. And it's the only thing that this has, it has a Working with the Coens, and it has The Making of No Country for Old Men, and then Diary of a County Sheriff. And it's and then this release here from Criterion has a new conversation between filmmakers Joel and Ethan Coen and author Megan Abbott, a new conversation between Deakins and associate producer David Diliberto, and also featuring Abbott. So Deakins being Roger Deakins, the cinematographer. Archival interviews with actors Javier Bardem, Josh Brolin, Tommy Lee Jones, and Kelly MacDonald. Behind the scenes documentary by Brolin. 3 documentaries about the making of the film featuring on-set footage and interviews with members of cast and crew. And then there's an essay here by Francine Prose and a 2007 piece on the film by author Larry McMurtry. Um, and this is a 4K UHD release. Yeah, yeah, I'm excited too. We got a comment here from Matt Miller. So excited for No Country for Old Men, one of my favorite movies. I've been pushing off buying the cheap one for so long for a release like this. You've waited long enough, good sir, because your victory is close at hand. You This will be coming out in December, and I'm pretty sure I'm lucky. Oh, hold on, my brain's a little scrambled. I'm happy for you and other people who have waited so long for a nice deluxe release of this movie because it's a movie that I think deserved it for the longest time. Like I said, this has been floating around since 2008. So we needed some type of restoration, remastered, re-release, something like that, because the technology that goes behind disc authoring and remastering and all that kind of stuff has vastly grown over the last 20 years or so. Vastly grown, I think, to the point that movies that came out in the 2000s could benefit from these remasterings, and being put on new discs, not even just in not 4K specifically, but just remastered Blu-rays in general. I think they could benefit from that because they could look so much better than they did when they came out. But that's No Country for Old Men, the Coen Brothers films. What is interesting is that um, for me personally, this was my introduction to the Coen Brothers. Was No Country for Old Men back in 2007? I was 20 years old. I hadn't seen their comedies. I hadn't seen like Raising Arizona yet. I hadn't seen um, anything like that. I hadn't seen anything. In 2007, when I was 20 years old, I didn't know anything about. I really didn't know anything about anything at that point, especially when it came to movies and when it came to cinema and stuff like that. So my introduction to the Coen Brothers was the fact that No Country for Old Men won Best Picture that year over There Will Be Blood, the Paul Thomas Anderson film, and um, I remember I don't even think I had seen the movie when I watched the ceremony, the Oscar ceremony. Then I watched the movie, and it was the first time I had seen a movie like that. If you know No Country for Old Men, it's a deeply, deeply serious, nihilistic film. Like Javier Bardem's character, Anton Chigurh, is so frighteningly serious. There was just not an ounce of compassion, empathy, joy, or anything in that man. He is a stone cold as ice killer. Like he's a comic book villain come to life. And yeah, at that point, Jeff, at that point, when I was 20 years old, I hadn't seen any of those. I hadn't seen No Miller's Crossing. I hadn't seen No Blood Simple. I hadn't even seen The Big Lebowski yet, I don't think. It wasn't until I saw this movie and that I actually knew who the Coen brothers were. I'm telling you, I was a dumb, naive 20-year-old, as many of us I hope I think were. You know what I mean? Yeah, because at that point, yeah, I had and that was actually that 2007 was when I actually started buying DVDs. That's when once I started collecting movies, that that was when my eyes were open to the world of cinema. You know what I mean? That's when things started opening up for me. Was at that age of like 20 years old. Before then, I had movies in my collection. Like I had tons of VHS tapes when I was a kid, but I was watching things that were entirely mainstream. Entirely mainstream. Growing up in the 90s, you were inundated with mainstream summer blockbusters as well as like blockbusters and franchises of the past. Star Wars, Back to the Future, Batman, Jurassic Park, uh, things like that. Like those were the movies I watched growing up as a kid. You know what I mean? It wasn't until I became an adult that I started digging into other things that weren't so mainstreamy. Um, for me, to be honest with all of you listening, I told you all this many, many times. My favorite movie of all time is Lord of the Rings. When I was from 2001, like onward from there, all I watched was Lord of the Rings over and over and over again. When I bought those on DVD, those were my life. Um, this may come as a shock to many of you. I wasn't a super popular person, sociable person in high school. My weekends consisted of watching Lord of the Rings on extended editions on DVD by myself. Pretty much. Pretty much. It wasn't until I got a little bit older that I branched out and became more sociable. Um and then when, of course, when I went to college and later on and stuff and whatnot. But still, like, my life was pretty much just like mainstream movies up until early adulthood. And one of the early movies to really open my eyes to more adult types of cinema, Oscar types of cinema, was No Country for Old Men, was There Will Be Blood, The Wrestler by Aronofsky. I think you're getting a little bit of a trend here. Those movies that came out during that, like, 2006 to 2008 window. Yeah, The Departed was another one. You know what I mean? So a little bit of a history lesson there. So that's why I think No Country for Old Men for me is such a significant film, and it's significant that it's getting this deluxe edition release here because it needs it. It needs this 4K remaster, and this isn't the first time that they've put the Coen Brothers films on the Criterion Collection. We've got Blood Simple, we've got Inside Llewyn Davis, we've got Miller's Crossing, um, but I, of course, since become a big fan of the Coen brothers. I have many of their films in my collection. Coincidentally, I don't have any of the Criterion ones though, because I had bought all of these on older editions. Um, and then I didn't like what they did with Miller's Crossing, like just getting rid of a scene and not telling anybody until the movie came out. That always bothered me. That always bothered me. We talked a bunch about that um on Chasing Labels in the past. It's like, I don't mind so much directors going back and changing things in their films, but at least tell people about it before they buy it, before they spend their money on things, whatnot. But transparency is everything. Transparency is everything. Let's see what else we've got here. So that is No Country for Old Men. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, one, highly recommend it. Two, um, I'm gonna say this, even though it was my first, like, Coen Brothers film, probably not the best place to start out with the Coen Brothers because it's very much not in their style. Their traditional style, it's not. They're much lighter filmmakers than this. Um, what's interesting is the movie that movie that I think came after this was Burn After Reading. Could you imagine going from No Country for Old Men to Burn After Reading? The tonal shift is will give you cinematic whiplash. Give you cinematic whiplash. Deadly Game of Chance and Destiny plays out against the stark backdrop of early 1980s West Texas and Joel and Ethan Coen's powerful adaptation of Cormac McCarthy's novel. If you know anything about Cormac McCarthy, his movies are stark, 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 stark. When he happens upon more than $2 million from a drug deal turned desert massacre, a retired welder and Vietnam veteran portrayed by Josh Brolin sets into motion a wave of senseless, inexorable violence as he's stalked across the plains by a soul-weary sheriff in Tommy Lee Jones and a psychopathic hitman in Javier Bardem. Winner of 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor, and yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great movie. But you need to have your movies dark, dark and, like, nihilistic. Next we have Paris, Texas by the great Wim Wenders. I consider this one of the greatest films ever made. Just in my opinion, just ever made. Um, for me, it's a cinematic masterpiece. It's a cinematic masterpiece on a level that's mind-bogglingly exquisite. I have an undying love for Wim Wenders and his work, and I think Paris, Texas is a must watch for anyone who's serious about being a lover of cinema, really, because it's pure cinema at its core. New German cinema pioneer Wim Wenders brings his keen eye for landscape to the American Southwest in Paris, Texas. A profoundly moving character study written by Pulitzer Prize winning playwright Sam Shepard. Paris, Texas follows the mysterious, nearly mute drifter Travis, portrayed by Harry Dean Stanton, as he tries to reconnect with his young son living with his brother, portrayed by Dean Stockwell, in Los Angeles, and his missing wife, who's portrayed by Natasha Kinski. From this simple setup, vendors and Shepard produced a powerful statement on codes of masculinity and the myth of the American family, as well as, as an exquisite visual exploration of a vast, crumbling work of canyons and neon. This is getting a new 4K digital restoration, one 4K UHD disc, audio commentary from vendors, archival interviews with vendors and Robbie Mueller, bunch of people. Got actors Dennis Hopper, um, Harry Dean Stanton, Peter Falk, um, novelist Patricia Highsmith, and filmmaker Samuel Fuller. Holy hell, it's a lineup there. Interviews with filmmaker Allison Anders and Claire Denis, deleted scenes and Super 8 home videos, gallery of vendors, location scouting photos, and then the behind the scenes photos by Robin Holland. So it's all the same special features from the Blu-ray release, which I happen to have here. Like I pointed out before, there's the Blu-ray release. It's the same artwork as well. Oh, good night, Jeff. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for supporting the channel, supporting the show, supporting the podcast, all that kind of stuff. I'm pretty much wrapping up now. This will be the last thing we'll be talking about here. Is the Paris, Texas 4K UHD release. Now, Jeff, as you're parting ways, this will be something I definitely want to upgrade. As you mentioned earlier, some things don't need to be upgraded to Blu-ray. Some things do. I think this does. This does. There's a 4K UHD of Wings of Desire, which I have to get my hands on. That movie's like the purest masterpiece I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, Paris, Texas is everything. It really is. I can't stress that enough. So that is it from Criterion. Criterion's releasing 4 films in December. We've got Eastern Condors 8.5 getting a 4K UHD release. No Country for Old Men 4K UHD release. Paris, Texas 4K UHD release. A nice upgrade there. Nice releases all around. Pretty awesome. So that has been everything from me here on Chasing Labels, episode number 148, spy number 148. For those of you in the know, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. If you're interested in any of these releases, check out places like Diabolic DVD, Orbit DVD, Grindhouse Video. Those are the places that I typically look when it comes to all these things. Yeah, thank you all for supporting. Like I said earlier, we will be having a review up of a couple of imprint releases from July and August. We will, of course, also probably be doing our unwatched pile at some point this month. I've got to talk with Steven about that and see when we will be doing it. So yeah, thank you all for supporting Chasing Labels. You can find the audio on any of the usual places where you can find podcast audios on Apple Podcasts, Google, all those places, whatnot, at Chasing Labels. And of course, here on the Chasing Labels YouTube channel, you can check out the stream anytime. And thank you all. Thank you all for all the support always. So, hey, keep on watching those movies because I know I will.